Shit. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
So I have to unmute. I usually do that as an exit thing, so we did that as the intro today. Welcome, and Woods is out there. First one saying hello, if I can get that up on screen. And hopefully everything's working good. I haven't been live in a bit, so all the knobs might have been adjusted weird or something. Let's see, we're going to share a screen here, and I thought I had it open, and I must have closed it, so we'll open it once again. I'll close that window. And do we need this one open? I'll leave it open. All right, we're going to take a look at our history, stuff I've been watching. Chime in with stuff you've been watching, and we'll cover what is worth checking out this week with the focus on what our Second Amendment protects. And we'll click on that in there. And I'll just bring that up on the screen completely. There we go. And thanks everybody for joining us live. I did put out an alert to Instagram today. And of course, we're on live with the X over there. And if I can zoom in on this. So a couple of these are up at the top of the list because I was just watching them as I was setting up the show today. And I think that's about as close as I'm going to get. So we're starting off with today's show. Look at that. So I guess that's because I have it open in the other window. So I might as well close it over there because it's huge. All those joining us, welcome. Sharing system sound. Yeah, I don't care. Why are you telling me this? My computer's giving me an alert that I could care less about. All right, so we're going to take a look back at the stuff I've been watching this week. And like I say, feel free to chime in with stuff you've been watching or stuff that's interesting. Should I send this over to Instagram? Let's see what happens. Can I do it during the show? The connection was disconnected. Weren't able to stream. Continue streaming to Instagram. Undefined. Terminate. All right, we just terminated the Instagram. I didn't set it up ahead of time. We're going to be checking out the stuff I've been watching this week, and it's not really in any order because this is I've just been watching Maj's videos here, and I guess my dilemma is I used to do the show in a kind of a format. I guess I'm not doing that anymore, so it doesn't matter how I jump into these topics. Feel free to be part of the show, of course. Let's see how many people are watching. Oh yeah, we got tons of people watching, so again, feel free to be part of the conversation here. But this first one is Maj from probably a few days ago. He's been doing these less than 10-minute videos each day to try to fundraise to finish off paying for that Solutionary Center in Philadelphia. He's getting really, really close to the end within the last couple hundred donors, and he owns that building and the Solutionary University and the Solutionary Summit. Not the Solutionary, what is it called? I just said it, I think. Is owned, and it doesn't need to be a factor anymore. So he's looking forward to ending fundraising. But up until then, he's been doing these daily posts, and some of them are pretty interesting. This one, he's talking about gun sales, but I'm going to take it on a tangent, which I often do because about the first introduction of his video, really, he cites the NSSF numbers, which cite the 4473s. And they talk about the trace. I don't know what the trace is. It's either, left or right or neutral, maybe. So the trace does some sort of investigative look into number of firearms sold each year and determines that gun sales are plummeting. So that would be an interesting conversation. And I don't know how to gather people these days to have that conversation. Who would want to have that conversation if people have the time or the interest to do a conversation like that? But what are the factors there? And then are we some words, are we do we only have the option of watching the trace tell us gun sales are plummeting? Or do we have a way to, do we have the opportunity, do we have the choice, do we have the ability to change course and influence the number of guns purchased that has nothing to do or outside the realm of either the Republican or Democrat being in office? So I like seeing people chat about these topics, but reporting on the status quo is still just reporting on the status quo. Let's change that up, right? Do we have that ability? And then is it feasible? Is it a potential? Let's see. Woods is asking a question, I suspect. Where is the Department of Justice on suppressors? Early in the week, they were suppressors are not protected by 2A. Then I thought the Department of Justice walked back on that. Not 100% where they are. No, that's a good question. I'd have no idea the answer to that particular question. I don't know if anybody else does. I could start. I don't know. There's no reason to start, I guess, if I'm the only one in here. But if someone does have that answer, feel free to leave it in the comments. Or if you're live, there's a whole bunch of people watching live right now. If you're watching live and you know the answer, then feel free to chime in. That's what it's all about. But I'm going to take it off on a tangent again because it's my show. And I was going to invite some guests tonight, but I went over to Instagram to see if anybody was active, and nobody was active that I know that would join in. So I'm just solo. So since it's solo, I'm going to take that on a tangent, and I'm going to go back to Woods' question. Where is the DOJ on suppressors? Like I said, I have really no idea on that. But why do we have to be the ones who have to keep up on this? We have 4, 5, or 6, depending on what you want to call, national level 3-letter organizations or 5-letter organizations, whatever they are. But we have these giant organizations that have been around now for most of them for more than a few years, some of them decades and decades. And we still have to wonder where the hell the Department of Justice is on suppressors. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? In 2025, I used to bitch about this in 2015 a little bit. I would rage about it in 2020. And now in 2025, we're still sitting here trying to worry about what the hell is going on with the ping pong ball. So how many ways do we look at this? Why the hell is there a ping pong ball game going anymore? Why is there even any question on suppressors? Why aren't they ADA, American Disabilities Act? Why aren't they necessary so that we don't cause trauma to ourselves? Why isn't the government defending our, enumerating our right to own them, not messing with us? So we've been 3 different ways towards achieving that and failed on each time. We have, since it's kind of related, we got the guy, why am I not thinking of his name? The guy who's American Suppressor Association is running for the NRA board. So if you're an NRA voting member, then definitely want to get Knox Williams, I think, because it's right, Knox. You want to get him on the board as a person who helped create the American Suppressor Association and grease the way to the number of suppressors that we've got today, like helped get us to where we are today. Not single-handedly, but certainly help lead the way on that, initiate the whole process. Momentum, I guess, not process, but momentum. Then that's an element to that. But yeah, I think that I don't know the answer to that, but it's just because I've got a million other things I've got going on in my head, and I haven't got anywhere near enough time to put towards all these things. But I'm almost getting back to where I'm thinking about not anywhere near future. I don't want to mislead anybody, but as I'm building some of the stuff I'm building right now, I'm thinking about how it could be used to build that scoreboard that I used to talk about in the days of gun channels, when people would wonder, where are we on this? Where's the Supreme Court on this? Where are the appellate courts or whatever, the district courts on this? Where are the states on this? Where are the state courts on this? Where are the various groups or organizations, either for or against? Where are they on these issues? And when we built, I guess it was originally, where was that originally? It doesn't matter. Now it's all on Minuteman University. But that first time we tried to build Minuteman University, I don't think it was called Minuteman University. It might have been on Every Second Matters, really. But when I was using flexing a lot of my skill with running software on the web, on the internet, we attempted to build some infrastructure to track the various things that were happening on the state and national level. And think about how difficult that is just to map out and then put people in charge of keeping track of it, so that anyone who wanted to could find what was the answer, or quickly to the answer to that. Is there advantage to that? I don't know. I think it's something we should have. Like, why don't we have that? It's not that difficult. It's difficult for me as a single person trying to figure it out, but it's not difficult for an organization or a group to figure out and implement at all. But why don't we have that? Wouldn't we be better off as a group, a group of individuals with that knowledge, that common understanding of where we are? So I'm not trying to sidetrack the issue, because you're right. I have no idea what the thing is going on with suppressors. I remember there was some videos going on, but in 2025, tell me I'm wrong, but I refuse to watch videos that go, the Department of Justice did this, or because of this happened. Like, nah, I'm looking for something different already. I don't need another year of watching that fucking ping pong ball go back and forth. We need to start changing the dynamic, and I believe that has to be done with awareness and education, and not duplicating shit that's been done before. A lot of the shit I'm watching happen has freaking been done before. Literally been done before. We're just doing it again 3 years later, and we don't need to be doing it again. We already did it, and we could be doing better things. It's like we're walking up the same set of stairs again and again and thinking we're making progress because we're walking upstairs. Anyhow, so let's see if anybody's answered that question. So I did put the question out there if anyone knows. Aldo saying I would have more suppressors if no $200 tax. Oh yeah, we could have that conversation. Without the tax and without the bullshit regulation, which is all up and down the production side of it, the manufacturer side of it, we would have a whole different industry for suppressors, just like we do with firearms. We have inexpensive firearms, we have really expensive firearms, we have rugged firearms, we have, fancy, precise firearms, right? We have everything in between. With suppressors, we'd have them for people that wanted them cheap. We'd have them for people that wanted them very quiet. And because the companies wouldn't have to worry as much about all the stupid process and paperwork and whatever, they'd be able to just work on, figuring out their craft, and a lot more demand for them, obviously. But yeah, I think we'd see all kinds of innovation there. And if they are not 2A, then what will that mean then? And if they are not 2A, then what will that mean then? I guess that was me ranting, and I don't know what that meant. So that's going to be tough. See, if I had a person in here, we might be able to catch what that was referring to, because I can't think of it. I was reading about it today, but you went live. I think he's talking about the suppressor thing. Now, reading, right? There's a couple of blogists still out there. And then, I blog, other people blog, but I don't really blog the way like a reporter blogs or anything. So there's people who are out there who are reporting and then, blogging about it. And I'm curious if that's a better way to keep up with the ping pong ball game, which was I call the back and forth bullshit that everybody. It seems like the two players in the ping pong ball game benefit because they both need to exist. But us, the audience who just wants the fucking game to be over already, are not winning, and we're not there to play the game. We're not there to watch the game. We want the game to end. But because the two players are getting off on it, making money on it, they're just keep playing the fucking game. All right. Let's see. Oh, they were saying owning a suppressor should be like owning ammo for a gun. We have the right to them under 2A. The government should promote their use, for sure. For sure. And there's nothing really stopping that except for, of course, movies make them seem like they're super silent, blah, 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 and that they're not hot, right? And that you can just unscrew them whenever you want. And, they're pretty much just like a lot of things, movies, right? So that's that unrealistic unawareness of them that the antis are playing on, and it's sad. And we can know that it's happening and we can be mad about it, but what the fuck are we doing about it? And you don't just get up and yell about it. You change the dynamic. You change the thing. You change the whole fucking thing. Did Moms Against Drunks Driving? Is that what it was called? Wasn't it? Well, Moms Against Drunk Driving came along after. Whoever came up with designated drivers, they didn't go out there and like fight drunk drivers. They didn't go out there and tell drunk people what to do. They just made a bunch of interesting, I don't really remember what they did, but I'm assuming they made a bunch of interesting advertisements or little jingles or something that got people to understand that a designated driver is a thing. And then later on, Moms Against Drunk Driving came along, mad, and they were laughed at. That was still a thing that was effective, although I don't think it was as effective. But whatever the social thing that started the whole designated driver thing, let's look back and see if we can't emulate that type of a situation with things like suppressors. Suppressors is a great one, because who wouldn't want cheap and plentiful suppressors around? It's just fun in every single possible way. The only time it's not fun is, of course, when you're shooting 9mm, because that 9mm is such a sloppy round. It comes out like doing a hula dance. So it would really just play havoc on your baffles. So that's the only time you wouldn't really want to shoot a 9mm, or shoot a suppressor. But the rest of the time, even on shotguns now, you can, even on black powder and stuff, you could put a suppressor. So that's what we have to look forward to once we have mastered awareness and education. Literally, all we have to do is talk to people about how fun it is to enjoy firearms and figure out ways to not take the blame for every freaking criminal out there, and we win. And then they leave guns alone. Nobody gets mad at people that have 2 or 3 story houses because they have stairs in them. But think about how many people fall downstairs. Is it the fault of people with stairs? No. Is it the fault of the stairs? No. Is it the fault of gravity? No. So tell me where it's different with guns. Have I tried the BNT VP9 Station 6? Probably not. Probably not. I did shoot some stuff at SHOT Show this year, but I've already forgotten what it was for the most part. I do have some of it on video, so if I ever get to editing my SHOT Show videos, I'll know what I shot. But I think it wasn't that. It was, I might have shot one actually though. I might have shot a B&T because I've seen B&Ts and I fiddled with them, but I hadn't shot one in forever or ever maybe. So I might have shot at the B&T booth today or this year at shot. But I was gonna say I know I shot the what's that thing called? The really low bore axis one from Italy and Russia mixed, I think. I forget what that gun's called. Or is it from Czechoslovakia? I forget. Let's see. Also, in your state, can you carry whatever you are, wherever you are in parks? We can't at all in Iowa. Let's see. So it depends on what we're talking about parks, but that's an interesting question. So Aldo is asking, in your state, can you carry whenever you're in a park? So first off, we have parks like the local park where there's a slide and maybe a pond or something next to a golf course, or like in a neighborhood. There's that kind of park. But then there's also like forest preserves or large what do you call them, like areas where maybe like out here the parks are around saguaro cactuses or Oregon pipe cactuses or maybe some mountains or something that are delicate. So the parks, the national parks at least, were made by presidential decree. So most of those were somebody that talked the president into saving something that was old and interesting, unique and one of a kind. So there's those kind of parks, but then there's state parks, and that's all the stuff that the president doesn't give a shit about, but somebody else might, and the state decided, let's keep this. So parks are normally different than a forest. A forest or a BLM, so BLM is just, let's go backwards. Parks are everything cool. So the national parks are where the president figured, like, we got to keep something. We've had all these presidents and they all make national parks. So all the national parks are stuff that somebody talked the president into keeping separate and special. So the national laws apply to it. So there's those kind of parks. But then all the stuff that the presidents have and said was so cool are basically covered by state parks. So states come along and go, oh, this is super cool, but the government hasn't taken it. Let's make sure that the state government says it's so good. Now it's a state park. And then everything that wasn't one of those two things at the national level is forest. And then if it's not forest and it's not, well, so the forest would be a region, usually old territory from some Native American territory or something, or maybe an old town or something. So the forests have some thing in common, like the forest or they're around a river or they're between two towns or something. And then everything that isn't cool is BLM, and that's Bureau of Land Management, and they just manage all the stuff that's lame that nobody cared about, that wasn't cool enough to be a forest, and it certainly wasn't cool enough to be a park. And that's in a nutshell all the national land. So anyway, the parks become either something you're talking about at a local level, and that matters because I'm not trying to just split hairs, because at a local level, a lot of times the stupid local laws will say, oh, you're cool to carry, but you can't carry at a park because there's kids at a park, or you can't carry at a park because people eat picnic at a park, like who knows what, or have picnics at a park. But so there are some weird rules that show up at parks. But the national and state, the state parks are all going to be different because every state does what it feels like. The national parks, I don't think you can carry a national, well, you can carry in a national park out here, but you can't carry in the national park buildings and maybe even the parking lots. So it's kind of half and half. You can and that was Obama made that situation. So you couldn't carry it all at parks, and then Obama said, well, you can carry at a park, but you just can't carry in the facilities or in the parking lots or something like that. So I don't bother going to parks, mostly because of that, but also because you can't fly drones in there, and you can't bring dogs in there. So if they don't want dogs in there, I got no business in a park. Plus, I don't like the idea of taking the coolest shit and putting a fence around it and then charging money to go in there. I mean, you have to, I get it, but I'm not going to pay to go in there. I'll look at a picture. So for me, we can carry in parks, kinda. And I don't know what the state park deal is, actually. We don't have a lot of state parks, at least around me. The Swiss Vet pistol, bolt action sneaky gun. Oh, is that a suppressed bolt action? I got you. Having a list of issues. Well, I think I keep saying a scoreboard. There's a place in Vegas. I got pictures of it. I think 2 years ago when I went there, because I've been talking about it for so long. But there's this. Oh man, I have to think for a second to remember what the name of the casino is. Well, I know the casino. I go there every time I'm in Vegas. It's where the one gun show is. But they have a giant sports area, and their scoreboard or whatever it's called is what we need for guns, for Second Amendment stuff. Once we have that, then they can't sneak anything past us, and we can see where the rallies are needed. We can see where groups of people, can put their effort, and we know where to lean and we know where to stand to block things, and we would be so much better off. And we would end a lot of the bullshit. A lot of the game would change. And I think we got a lot of scared national level organizations that don't want to see that happen. So they don't even put any effort into it at all. Let's see. Was asking before my mouse. Moose. Really removed my own comment. Do they allow you guys to carry in your state parks? Yeah, I think I got it. Sorry. The 2A was the superior issue. They wanted to make suppressors not 2A. I'm not sure. Like I say, I haven't been following it. There's, how to say it? Like it's like I look at this as all like I don't know, sports. So it's like there's a bunch of people slapping a ball back and forth all the time. And then every once in a while, somebody like goes up for a dunk or something, and you can kind of tell that something's going on, and then I'll pay attention. At least now. Like back in the day, I tried to keep track of all the back and forth, but like I said, I just do not have the bandwidth anymore to keep track of all the back and forth. So until it becomes somebody coming up for a big slam dunk or whatever, then I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Somebody comes up above the rest of the crowd. Would just saying the videos are often the sky is falling about everything rather than read an article from a trusted source. Well, yeah, for sure. We know that that's what makes the cash at the moment. Although saying, and the bad thing is that the antis are the ones making the movies that have the guns in them like that. Yeah, many in Hollywood are against guns, yet own them. Okay, for them types. They are against us having them. Won't name names, but then major Hollywood people have guns in their films. Yeah, for sure. I don't even care if they own guns or not. They're making money off of guns, and then they'll talk shit about them whenever it's politically popular to do so. It's just another like fur coats or like eating cheese or something. I don't know. It's just another badge that they can put on when it's appropriate to stay popular or to stay trendy, and maybe not even to do something to be trendy or whatever, but mainly maybe just to not get singled out as the person who isn't being trendy. Like we're all supposed to be trendy right now, and trendy right now is being hating guns, so they just go along to get along. And I don't really care too hard because honestly, Hollywood's going the way of the Facebook or something. Like it's big and it has its place, but now there's like half the good stuff that I watch is like Netflix or Apple TV or something else. It seems like Hollywood nothing needs to be in Hollywood anymore. And once some of the old people are gone and stuff like the Malibu fires and all that happens and things just get disrupted, I think we'll see less and less of Hollywood. There's no Silicon Valley anymore either. Like there used to be a value to all living together, because things were analog, and lack of things being wired together and lack of being able to network or anything. You had to go drive to each other, so it kind of made sense that a lot of the stuff was happening in Hollywood because all that stuff was there. Nobody needs that stuff anymore, so we'll see less and less of Hollywood having any kind of influence. I could be wrong, but I think that's how it's going to happen. Aldo saying the last I knew, there was only literally a couple to less than $1/2 dozen suppressor crimes a year max. Yet they look like there's some secret squirrel stuff, or they treat them like there's some secret squirrel stuff. Oh yeah, suppressors are the things that are, well, kind of like full auto. They're so stupidly scared of them, and it's only because it's like ignorantly scared. But suppressors, first, they have to align with the gun or they're useless and they're dangerous, so like to the shooter. So that means they're delicate, and no matter how rugged the can is, it has to be screwed onto the front of the gun, and it can't be jacked around with at all. Like, it can't be messed with, otherwise the alignments would all be off. So first off, it's super delicate, and you have to be you have to act like it's real fragile. Even if it may not be fragile, you have to treat it that way because you definitely don't want to get a bend in it or something. And then you go to shoot them, and they're not all that quiet. So obviously we all know that. They're quieter, and they kind of get rid of some of the sharp noise. They bring it down to a painful, but they're not a dangerous level. Like, they don't even bring them down to a quiet level. They bring them down to a dangerous or a loud level that's painful. Or wait, I should say it's painful but not dangerous, right? It's still annoying, and it's still kind of, that you're shooting a gun for sure. But then once you're done shooting it, one round, 2, 3, 4, done. You're done. Like, after 2 rounds, that thing's piping hot. After 4, it's piping hot for a long time. And if you shoot anything more than a few rounds out of it, that's why people have to carry around oven mitts and stuff. The thing is incredibly hot. It's like touching a car muffler. So now it's this long, delicate. Oh, and then I mentioned that they're super long, so they can't even be short. That would defeat the purpose. So they're these long, delicate, super hot things that you put on the front of a pistol. And if you put on the front of a rifle, it's even longer. Like, they're huge. So anybody who thinks that they're discreet or thinks that they're going to do anything like remove any kind of signature, like, oh, they remove a noise signature. Okay, so for animals who can't see or smell or hear anything else, yeah, okay, they remove a noise signature maybe. For us, they make it go from dangerous to just annoying. So it's nice to have the suppressor on there. But for the police or the military or whoever they're concerned about hiding from, like, there's a massive thermal signature. And you don't think that any department doesn't have a massive, or doesn't have thermal in their list of gear. So there's nothing that you're hiding about suppressors, just the sound. Like, and it's not that much. So all of their fantasy comes from, or their misinformation comes from, the fact that we haven't put out deliberate awareness and education. And that's all it is. That's all we have to do. American Suppressor Association, if they've done anything wrong, quote unquote, they haven't done anything wrong. But the only thing they've lacked is working on the awareness. And they've actually done quite a bit. It's just that we haven't helped them. We haven't championed that and given them the boost that they would need to do that more and more and more and more. Because if they started doing it, we'd master it. They are really a good organization. But they'll do things, for example, to compare the decibels of a gun to a chainsaw to a rock concert and that kind of thing, so that people get a real awareness of where guns are in the spectrum and where they are with suppressors and stuff. Let's see, I can't even go into a city park and carry. Yeah, a lot of times people can't. Woods is saying Washington new law: you can't carry in a park, library, ball field, anywhere kids are, but okay if you have a CCW. Not passed yet, but likely. So, what's up with Washington? I can understand Colorado because they got a giant money suck in that state, and all the other organizations are scared to touch them or talk about them or go anywhere near them. So Colorado suffers. But Washington has Second Amendment Foundation. And usually they're all patting each other on the back constantly. So you'd think if something was happening in Washington, we'd see Second Amendment Foundation rear up like the massive, I guess they're an eagle. So they'd rear up like a giant eagle. And then you'd have, the other organizations doing what they can to support that initiative. But I don't want to say yet again, so it sounds like a douchebag thing to say, but now you've got something else moving around. And the only time politicians are going to move this kind of shit around is when they realize that there's a potential to move it through. Maybe not the only time, but that encourages them when they know there's a potential to get it through. Let's see. Although saying I don't think we even have BLM land here, unlike out west. We are flyover country in the minds of west east coasters, corn and sky for miles, a few forests, and they're almost all parks. Yeah, exactly. BLM is kind of, I don't know. I haven't done like a massive, maybe I have, shit. Maybe back in school I had to know this. Maybe that's why I know some of the stuff. Or maybe it's just from going out and being around places and hearing from people or figuring it out. But there's some states with a lot of BLM land, and some states, well, most states have none, but some states have a lot. And Arizona is a state that we're mostly public land, like mostly the government owns Arizona, or, well, yes, mostly the government owns Arizona. The next biggest owner of Arizona is independent nations. So all the different tribes that have the reservations in Arizona. And then you've got state land, which there's a chunk of it because they gave the cities and counties and shit a bunch of land because nobody wanted land in Arizona back in the old days. There was no air conditioning. And then you've got people that bought land, and there just wasn't that many because there's no air conditioning. So once air conditioning happened and railroads and shit and highways and cars and stuff, it became a different thing. But so Arizona happens to be one of the states that we have a lot of like just land that nobody wanted and somebody had to manage it, and that's where you get BLM. New Mexico is probably even more, and I bet you there's other states with big chunks of it. And then, like I say, I didn't even know what BLM was until I moved out here. Really, there's most of the states back east. Good luck. Like the state owns it or somebody owns it. Like there's no land that was just laying around back east. So still tyranny. I guess so. That would be a good shirt. When I grew up, all the crime was in the parks, and I went to go for walks. There's drugs all over parks 30 years ago and gangs. Oh, interesting. See, I didn't grow up in that big of a town. We had like a park, and it was kind of a shitty, just, I don't know what to call it, like a fun, it was a creek. And the land around the creek, nobody could build a house on, so they must have gave it to the town, and the town called it a park. So then they put like one of the metal slides in it, and it had the kind of swings that were with like chains coming down to like pieces of tire rubber. And then I think that was it. They might have had another piece of equipment there, but it was like the lamest equipment. So like little kids, like grandparents would take their little kids there. But the rest of the time, like nobody used that park. It was all full of mosquitoes, and it was down by the creek, and it was like this land that just went down. So I imagine stuff like that, after you get a bunch of high schoolers or stuff hanging out, then yeah, no one's going to go near that park. Oh, it's the same. We have massive national forests, and parks can carry them both. Yeah, national parks, you can do whatever national forests, you can do whatever you want, and they're the land of many uses. You can literally do whatever you want in a national forest. They're awesome. BLM is pretty much the same. It's actually a little bit more because they don't really put much, like I say, BLM was just the leftover stuff. So there's almost never anything good in BLM land. Let's see. Agreed, I only go to national forests. Wish we had BLM or national forest area. We do have one national forest area, I think, up in the north or south or central. Very remote. right. Well, I'm just going to start cutting it because we're turning it into national forest conversation. I didn't realize how long we've been going. Let's see. Tyrannical soccer moms making unsafe safe spaces for their emasculated kids. I suppose, but I think without like yanking on them, we could eliminate that, right? Or make that more of an issue because say gun-free zones have got to go, right? Like gun-free zones are definitely a bad thing. Right. So now you guys are talking about guns, but I'm going to jump back over to because that was like the first freaking video. So that was a conversation that was started from the first video, which is kind of good. Right. So then he does, or not Maj had another one, how to spot losers, and he was saying how he used to sell DVD movies or something. And if someone had a problem, like if a DVD movie didn't work, like a DVD was scratched, or if you remember back in the day when you'd burn DVDs, if something happened to it or something, he wouldn't know until you gave him the feedback. So he would just replace it right away. He always had a bunch of DVDs with him. So if somebody would come up and say, "Hey, I had a problem," he would say, "Here, take another movie." And he said there was this one person who came up one time, and she just she wouldn't take another movie. She just wanted to complain that he sold her a bad movie. And he's like, "Well, look, I'll give you your money back. I'll give you another movie. Tell me what you want." And she's like, "No, I don't want either one of those. I just want to tell you you suck." And that's a good point. Like, there's you can be doing something good and maybe what was it? Somebody used to say you could be handing out $20 bills on the street, and there's going to be somebody that comes along and has a problem with that. Has some reason why you shouldn't be doing it. So that's a good point, I guess. Then we get Gun Owners of America. They're talking about Pam Bondi's implementing Trump's stuff. I'm fading. We shouldn't have talked so much about national parks. I'm about to fall asleep right in the middle of the podcast. I think I fell asleep in the middle of last week's show. I don't know what to do. This is a short. So does Pam Bondi's actions on Second Amendment issues rate more than a short? I believe so. I mean, it may not be top front page news, and it may not be breaking news for sure, and it may not be pivotal or like long time consequences, but at the same time, we're spending a lot of money. I'd like to see everything documented, everything editorialized, so that people that are busy know what's up, and there's always somebody paying attention, because they win when we're not paying attention. And if we're not focused on like every move she's making or not making for gun owners' rights, then we're slipping, right? And who are we supposed to rely on to do that? The organizations that we pay $30 a year for, or our gun shop? Like, who's supposed to be doing this? The Supreme Court's supposed to do it somehow? Like, who do we expect to do this? So then we got Four Boxes Diner. He basically started the episode and then showed this judge's video. So I guess that judge's video is almost 20 minutes long. I think we'll end up talking about that probably in some of the conversations this week. But I'm curious if anyone had seen this and what your thoughts are on watching a judge attempt to do a little bit of what I'm talking about, the awareness and education. It's a little, what's the word, like boring. It's a little verbose. It's a little technical. It's no problem if you're a gun owner. I'm trying to think of myself as a non-gun owner, how it would be listening to him. And he's a judge, so at the same time, he's not used to having to be entertaining at all. And he even says at the beginning, I think, sorry that I'm an old judge, not a entertainer, so you're going to not like my level of production. I think he says that right at the beginning. Then there's Toby doing about 4 minutes talking about trying to be optimistic. I think it was the nutshell. He's trying to be optimistic because she had done a couple of things to follow through. All right, I'm yawning again. We're going to go ahead and try to run this commercial while I drink a bunch of water.
Captain, a vessel approaching.
On screen.
We're being hailed.
Every weekend over at gearwebsites.com, our online store, we have free Patch Friday. And that means that every order placed on our store on Fridays is going to include at least one free patch. So that's every order with no coupons, no minimum order, no codes needed. You place the order on Friday, and when it arrives to you, it's going to have at least one free patch. Your support means a lot to us, and financial support is critical. So thanks again to the people who keep us online through purchases at gearwebsites.com.
All right. So then we get to Ironclad. They're killing workers at sea. I didn't watch that one, so I don't know why it's in my feed. Maybe I don't know why. I don't know, but that'll happen. But that's fine. Ironclad does stuff. They did actually. No, it was Team House. So Ironclad has done some good ones. I think they were talking to CIA. It was actually a pretty clumsy one. They do good shows. They've done one really bad anti-gun one in this last one where Borderlands is talking to CIA lady. It's super clumsy, so it's a pretty difficult one to listen to, really. Let's see. Was that Tony? No, I don't think so. Is there any Ask On questions tomorrow? Yeah, if Tony's available, we should have one tomorrow. Roll call is asking, why do you think it's taking so long to pass pro-gun legislation as in during the election it was talked about so stoutly as it would be rushed in? That's a good question. So why do I think? That's the first part of it. I haven't been paying attention, so I'm going to just give you my rantings. I don't think gun legislation, pro-gun legislation, what pro-gun legislation could there possibly be? I don't want them writing any laws. So the legislation, pro-gun action I'd like to see would be in the Congress. So the executive branch can do is tell the police and the military what to do. Like, that's his job. And then the courts are separate, but he can elect people into the courts. So he's elected people into the courts last time. I don't think he's done that this time, but I think everybody's okay with his choices for the courts. So that part of it, I don't think anybody's complaining about. Then what happened? And you have to give me some training wheels here, because I think what happened is he's been in for 2 months, and fairly recently, he put out an executive order effectively saying the government that I'm in control of shouldn't be messing with gun owners' rights anymore and do something about it. And he hands it to the attorney general. Right? That happened. And then a bunch of people either said to that, yeah, you're good. That was amazing. That was the best thing I've ever seen a president do. No president's ever done anything like that. This is a great start. Or people are saying, what the hell? That's all you're going to do? Like, after 2 months, that's the only thing that's going on? So, in a summary, I think that's where we're at. So why is it taking so long to pass gun legislation would be this Congress, and I don't know anywhere near enough about the dynamics in Congress right now. Congress, I suspect, just my talking shit in the middle of the night while I'm falling asleep, will change as people don't like to tolerate, abuse and bullshit. And there's some horrible, I guess, abuse is the only way to call it, like, right? Like people taking advantage of the system, like Pelosi. I'm just going to use her as an example, but she's got to be the old, like, loud one out of the group that's, probably doing a lot of people doing the same thing. And I'd like to think that those folks are going to either age out or have light shown on them. And as more and more of the new wave representative comes in who doesn't want any interest in that, I think there's real potential to see some, more nuanced approach to way laws are dealt with. But what time frame that is, shit, I don't know. Because I would have said the same thing a few years ago. And I don't know if we're on that path or not. But I don't know if that's an answer. Do you think it's taken so long to pass pro-gun legislation? It was during the election. It was talked about. And then somebody who's been paying attention a lot more than me would be able to answer that, I think, because I do think that there's some things that either the president has claimed to have done or has done. And I don't know if, what the actual deal is there. Let's see. Proof Mexico lied to the Supreme Court by GOA was video, by the way. I'll have to check that out. I don't remember that one. Or at least I don't remember seeing that one. Let's see. So I did a video on a mosquito repellent. Isn't that nice? I was just talking about a Crip guy getting targeted. It was pretty interesting. I guess I must have been. I've been working on some websites and stuff, so I was in here looking at videos so that I could get links and stuff. I don't know if anybody's interested in gloves, but we have a whole webpage just for glove reviews. And then, since we're looking at it, I also have a bunch of security cameras. It'd be interesting to have a conversation about security camera options that people are using without getting into too many details or too many details. Let's just leave it at that. Then we could still have a pretty interesting conversation about the ways people use it and the ways people set up their security stuff. Let's see. Rapid Fire Radio happens on Wednesdays, and was able to catch the show this week. It's a pretty decent show. Gizzard, am I allowed to talk about his members only chat? If you're a member of some channels, they'll have a special chat. I'll just go ahead and click out of there just in case. But the member only chats are often a lot of fun because they're essentially off air, but they're open to the people who have a link, the people who know. Let's see. I guess this is from the other day. I had 20 minutes to spare, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to start putting these patches that I already sorted from SHOT Show onto these patch panels. And I didn't think it was going to take that long because it's been a long time since I've done it, and I obviously didn't remember how long it actually takes. So I think it was like an hour or something. Yeah, an hour and a half later, I placed all the patches that were in a big giant bag from SHOT Show onto, I guess, a couple of four or five patch panels, maybe 4.5 or something patch panels, which is good because I like keeping my patches and I don't have a giant wall. I haven't done the ceiling. I've heard people doing the ceiling. I might do that at some point somewhere, but not here. So I put them on these doormats, what I think they are, and I keep wanting to say placemat. I think I'm just getting tired. But you put them on these doormats, and then you can store them like I store them vertically, like pages in a book. It says I need a new door cam. I'm not allowed to. Not allowed to. Let's see. That was the Who's Looking for Drama. We had on Tuesdays, dueling podcasts. I don't even think they're both aware of each other, but the Gun and Gear Review podcast is on at the same time as Armed Citizens podcast, Ghost Tacticals podcast. So if you look, 568 podcast episodes and 379. So we know who was there first and who's corking who. They really do. And I just need to figure out. I think I have a grommet machine now. I just have to figure out where it is and put some grommets in some. Gizzard had his show on St. Patrick's Day. That was pretty cool. So a lot of green beer being drunk, I suspect. What's neat about doing it this format is we're just scrolling backwards through my history on YouTube. And now we're looking at Sunday. We can tell because it says Sunday right there. And Foss took somebody to the range. This is somebody who he knows and has been to the range before, but still, always fun to see people sharing. You know, the whole thing is about creating understanding and awareness. And somebody sees this, it's real. I would think it would be tough to figure out how this is, you know, any kind of something to be concerned about or scared about. So, Gun Owners Radio records their show and then premieres it live now, so you can watch it whenever you want. This is their next episode. There's a video talking about that thing I was just worried about with firearms plummeting. Hillbilly does a show on Saturday nights right after Brooke does her show, Mental Health Matters. And then in the evening after Hillbilly, you got the overnight mouse party, now. Definitely worth checking out if you're up even later than this. Let's see. Someone was handing out rough Korean patches at SHOT Show. A friend told me he got a few. Gotta love our Korean friends who are armed to the teeth because they learned a lot from the Korean War. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned. I went to San Francisco, LA. What am I saying? I went to LA one time, and hey, there's Crump. Welcome. Thanks for the super chat, $2. So there's I forgot to mention it. There's what do you think? Call this thing a goal? No, is it a goal? Whatever the thing is on YouTube, and to incentivize super chats. If we get 10 $5 super chats, then something amazing will happen. Or is it? No, I think I put 10. Did I put 50, $100 super chats? I don't know what I put in there. But just open up your wallets and super chat. Today's an amazing day to super chat. It's a mind-blowing day to super chat. But thanks, Crump, for the super chat. Much appreciated. Let's see. So anyway, I was in LA and I can't remember the circumstances. Oh, I know what it was. I was looking for the best place to park as the sun was coming up so that I could get the sun coming up over the buildings. And Alan Anchor told me where to go. And when I was farting around, I realized that where I was just north of that whole area. So once I got my pictures, I wanted to get pictures of the sun coming up over the city. Once I got those pictures, I drove around that whole area. And then I think what it was while I was waiting for that to happen, I realized where I was and started to do a little bit of research. And that was pretty neat, doing the research while it was actually there. So then I found a bunch of places that kind of bordered or outlined the whole scenario or the whole situation, and drove around and looked at all those different places, and all the buildings that you see where the people are on the roof. I went to all those buildings. I couldn't get on the roof because I didn't know who to ask to get on the roof, but I went to all of those buildings and saw what the streets look like today, essentially. Pretty neat. But anyway, as I did all that, and then we were going live every single day back then. As I did all that, it really started to dawn on me how important that, or how significant, I guess the word is, how significant the whole riots, LA riots, were as far as a gun issue. So people say, "Oh, what do you need an AR-15 for?" Blah blah blah. The government has F-16 fighter fighter jets, or you don't need it to hunt or whatever. But in that circumstance, that often gets made light of, there was a circumstance that was unbearable for an entire chunk of LA, and the tensions were so high that when something happened on TV, right? Like something happened on TV, and boom, there was just a real, like, what do they call that? Like tinderbox happening. Like there was just a really tense situation between the police and the neighborhoods. And the police went in and fucked with some kids or something, and the neighborhood got pissed, and the cops reacted poorly. I think they ran away, and then that turned into the initial riot. And then the police, the helicopters were telling the news helicopters were telling everybody, "There's a riot! There's a riot! There's a riot!" So everybody went outside and started rioting, and then the police didn't stop anything. They just decided, we're gonna stand back and not interfere because it was our presence. They probably were thinking, it's our presence that started this. We'll just stand back and let it calm down. But instead of calming down, it got worse. And then they started destroying businesses and just kicking the shit out of people. And that's when the guy got stopped in that truck. Anyhow, so it turned into a massive wave of violence that go ahead and try to say what started it, what could stop it. Like there's nothing that when you got a mob, like that's what the whole idea of a mob is that it's not reasonable anymore. You can't walk out to a mob and do something, say something, put up a sign that makes everybody start being reasonable. They're mad, and whether or not they're mad is justified. They're mad and they're acting, and that's when that started to move. That riot started to move around, and or the violence and destruction started to move around. And I just, who knows? There's all kinds of reasons why, but your house gets burned down. What are you going to do? You're going to run outside and start burning somebody else's house down, I suspect, or something like that. So, it just kept getting crazier and crazier. And as mob violence moved north down this one road, the road that it literally started on, like it started on this one road and it kind of spread out like in a couple of, directions, mostly north and east and west. And as it went north from the intersection where it started, I might be remembering it wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the same exact road that it started on, or maybe one road east. But it basically was, just north of the neighborhood where it started to hit, is that Koreatown or something? And what stopped a mob? Like literally, there wasn't like one person leading a parade and said, "Hey, you go over there and you go over there and you break that place and you burn that place." It was just a bunch of people pissed and mobbing and stealing and arsoning and everything else they were doing. And what stopped them is the presence of people on roofs with AR-15s. No one had to fire nothing. They weren't really shooting at anybody in the mob. The mob just seen that there was guns and they knew they weren't cops. They went home. What the fuck? Like literally that happened. Maybe not that quick, but they saw that there was guns in Korea. Is it Koreatown? Whatever it was called, that neighborhood. It was safe. Like there was very little violence in that neighborhood. Very little arson. And that was because of the AR-15, the presence of AR-15s. Not one shot. Well, if shots were fired, they weren't fired at anybody. Nobody was shot and killed or anything like that. So shots might have been fired, like warning shots or like that kind of thing. It was in a crazy situation, but it wasn't a lot. Um, and it's completely downplayed because nothing about that fits the narrative that AR-15s are useless. AR-15s have no point in the world. Let's see. And there's Crump again. Nice. Try to give 10. Oh, I gotcha. Right on. Well, thank you for the first, probably the only super chat. I was just kind of playing around, but figured if I do get a bunch of super chats, then we'll do something. I was halfway thinking of sending people patches from SHOT Show, but I suspect you probably got patches already from SHOT Show. I'm yawning again. We're at the hour something mark. I should try to burn. Oh, and actually, I'm pretty close to being through. So once you get to Mental Health Matters, right, what Brooke Cheney had to rename her show because of the stupid YouTube logarithms. Can't tell when you're talking positively about a certain circumstance or, just the word itself. So she renamed it Mental Health Matters. Another great episode, and a bunch of good people are showing up and being there live for the shows, and then hopefully a bunch of people are sharing it even if you're not able to join live. Then you got Four Boxes Diner talking about I don't remember anymore. It was a long time ago and I'm getting tired. Then I put up a couple of blog posts. I don't know if I talked about them last week or not, but took some old videos, ran them through robots, and let the robots turn them into blog posts. So it's kind of an interesting thing. When I was blabbing and blabbing for, how long is this video? I was blabbing and blabbing for 5 minutes, however many years ago, probably 17 years ago, making this video at the back room of the gun shop. I never would have thought that, what is this? Let's say it was 17, almost 20, 10 years later, that, no, it wouldn't have been 17. It would have been more like 7. So, something like 20 years later, we would have robots taking what I've said in the video and turning it into a blog post. But tried that a few times. Let me know what you think. It's over on Substack. It's another excuse to go watch some interesting, weird guns that Bob had at the shop at the time. And there we go. There's our weekly wrap up from last week. So we're getting back into the pace here. So this is episode like 16. I don't even know. Like, it's a lot. 1930 something. We've been doing this for a while, and it'll get bad. It'll get better. And hopefully it'll start getting better here. I've had more time to work on it. And hopefully we'll be adding some other days of the week at some point here too. All right, let's see. So Aldo is saying how cops respond to mobs. Let me get rid of this. I don't need this anymore. There we go. How cops respond to mobs on initial contact determines outcome often. It gets complicated. I'm not saying for or against, just that it's a dicey to deal with. Takes a smart mind to plan response. Yeah, and I bet you even experience, right? Like experience often lets you, have better reaction or, kind of understanding what might happen. But how do you get experience with a mob other than like the experience of, figuring out that chaos is part of it? You can't say like, oh, I've dealt with 5 mobs before, so therefore I know what the 6th mob is going to do. Huge pepper, although saying I mod for a huge pepper channel, so I am always looking for good channels to get news. You got a lot of good stuff. Oh, you're talking to Crump? Yeah, I listen to Crump usually for, when I want to just hear what's up instead of the hype. Like, oh no, let's worried about this or whatever. Not always. Sometimes Crump is worried about stuff. Let's see. Louisiana, they all had rifles. Oh, Koreatown, LA, where they all had rifles. No issues there. It was everywhere else. Again, guns prevented crime. They didn't need to be used. Yep. And I'm definitely not the only one that's ever said that. It's just that when you brought that up, it reminded me like it was really interesting to go there. And I think I went there without even really that premise. Like I didn't think who was around when I was doing that. I really don't think I went there thinking that. Kind of came to me as I was there. So some of the funnest stuff is learning history as you're in the place where it was happening. Hollywood has a lot of that, but most of it is movies. Let's see. Is that Walther the Olympic pistol with the great grip? Man, what was that thing? That's how bad my recall is anymore. I just had to look it up the other day. It is definitely a weird kind of wooden.
So
I think it's like you buy it and it's like oversized and then you carve to fit. It was those kind of things before there was 3D printing and scanning your hands and all that. But yeah, I cannot remember for the life of me what it is. It's like an SP22 or something though. It's like a pretty basic model number. Let's see, if you ever go to that location, you can easily see how it would be to defend the roof suited to defend, so make a great movie. All right, well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. I'm going to call that our show, and thank you, the Patreons. I should have had my scroll going. Dang it, I'm going to throw it up here at the last minute. Oh, I can't. This is a sample banner. This is a demonstration of a banner and how it would look. And here's an example ticker. I thought I had this thing all figured out, and now I figure out that I don't even have my banners running on this channel. But I do want to thank the Patreons. They keep the servers up and the all the different sites running. I have been working on a project here, and one of the next things to do after the project's done is to rebuild a lot of the infrastructure between the different Second Amendment focused websites out there. Although saying thanks, or saying be well, so I'll say thanks to that, and everybody else who joined us tonight. It is a more fun and interesting show, using both sides of the internet when you don't just listen, but also participate. We use the internet to its at least fuller potential. Maybe not its fullest potential, but we're definitely getting our money's worth out of the internet that way. So I do value the people that show up, especially once we get into this kind of mode of going live inconsistently, but also at different times. Like I went live, I think an hour or something earlier today than I did last week. But that's because I'm falling asleep. I'm falling asleep at 9 o'clock, and that's what time it is right now. So that's enough. We'll try to click on this and make it a smooth transition to this. Super smooth. Oh yeah, like butter.